And then she uttered those words with a carefree disposition that I was taken aback. You have money and connections, right? So just do it. But that's so irresponsible. It's just the opinion of a complete third party. She put some strange emphasis on the words complete third party. Her words were quite exact. Ella and I had fought together as comrades, but I had to fight this battle alone. An untrodden land, returns amounting to 1.8 trillion? Eleanor gazed at the earth outside the window. Even with 10 billion earthlings, you wouldn't see many with such a dream. Are you an idiot? Felt as if somewhere at the edge of my hearing she had asked me that question. Well then, I can't remain away from home too long, or bad rumours will start spreading, so let us meet in my manor on another occasion. Enna said this before going back, leaving with a distinguished smile. I was prey to a strange emotion similar to excitement, a sort you experience right after a day of a very rough market. A strange blend of lethargy and accomplishment, mixed with both anguish and expectations of tomorrow. My head was spinning, maybe it was because I'd cried a little. But I was seeing through all the problems. I now knew why I was suffering, hesitating. It was a feeling similar to thinking that two lines in two-dimensional space were entangled, but discovering upon looking at them in 3 dimensions that they weren't entangled at all. But I still had qualms. Eleanor had light-heartedly said I should just do it. She was pushing me forward innocently, wearing a sweet smile. Was it because Eleanor had sheltered some little noble girl? Eleanor was some sheltered little noble girl who enjoyed taking tea in the European forest while she gossiped happily about love? No. In a place that concentrated all the agreed on lunar surface, Eleanor had fought through and through, even bloodying herself in the process. This is why Eleanor had something Risa did not. That was cunning. I had seen lots of companies go public that were borderline frauds. Just as she was about to leave the lounge, Eleanor uttered those words. But amongst those, there were companies I would even find myself admiring. What did that mean? My question, Eleanor gave an impish grin before saying, "It's all about how you say it." She giggled slightly, but said nothing more. But I understood full well what she meant. On one hand, Risa and Mark were expressing rejection. On the other, Eleanor was telling me just to do it. Yes. If what I was thinking, and probably what Dr. Wallace was thinking, is the plot to turn over and take advantage of a nature of protection supposed to compensate for the loss of securities, the reverse would certainly hold true. The reverse was the front. In other words, a fund whose main purpose would be hedging risk against the real estate market. Marco said this through a phone, as if he'd been caught off guard. Thanks to Eleanor's advice, I had no more reason to hesitate. I picked up a tablet right away and called Marco. Yes, real estate might remain on a steep price rise for the future. There might be people shaking their fear that the idea might take a drop. Investments on Earth weaken, or sometimes the real estate falls into a period of stagnation. It's probably because there are people making profit-taking sales. These people must be thinking that if it was possible to hedge against a fail, they would want to keep their positions in the future. It must be a service to such people. But it's not against our goals, no? Caution bordering on stupidity, befitting a wooden-legged donkey. Of course, since I would be setting up a different fund, our main fund would be unaffected. There must be a lot of people with real estate positions on a large scale, and would want to hedge of risks. But who can't possibly short sell their own homes, right? And short selling on residential general index, when compared to insurance money, ends up locking more on capital. In case of short selling, losses no limit. On the other hand, even for no refund insurance, the losses will only reach the amount that has been invested. And also don't forget how gaga Earth people about lunar surface. By saying that investing on the lunar surface gives you a degree of status. As there were pieces of knowledge Eleanor had given me, word for word, I could hear Marco groan on the other side of her phone. That's Eleanor's straight from a horse's mouth, if you will. Marco fell silent again. Pouring all your assets into a no-refund insurance policy, and hoping to earn a large profit thanks to it, that can only be called madness, period. That's because it showed a critical understanding of the nature of what insurance was. By taking advantage of a no-refund insurance to get a guarantee when something bad did happen? Now that would work. Even though it's involved the same actions, with something being so different, it helps sound like a completely different thing. It would be great as the difference between the king of pessimism, who fell prey to madness, and a logical widow thinking about their future. As for betting money at stake, even with a low betting amount per person, the amount would grow as more people gathered. Big enough to overcome this crazy gambit. Remember when we went to Stacey's place to ask about ABS? Huh? I'm talking about other peculiarity of these projects. These investment banks develop. The charm it holds. The charm? Try to picture a sales pitch. Since you're savvy enough to develop investment to hold real estate positions on the lunar surface, wouldn't you be interested in smart risk by hedging, making use of the insurance package developed by the brightest minds on the lunar surface? Don't you think people would be interested? It has... I might have minutes for talking. It has value one can't buy with money. I could picture Marco's dumbfounded face perfectly. But it was not all the same as the previous phone call. I had no sense that the silence on the other end was scary. I waited for his words, sitting by the hotel's bay window, glancing at the mall below, with people going back and forth. What would your initial settings be? He got interested. He bought. He bit. Without a pause, I answered. A low limit of 300,000. Fixed for 2 years. We'll gather 40 million more for sure. Are you already soliciting people? That's my own funds. As about all the money I couldn't move freely, for someone managing a fund on the scale of ours, it was such a small amount I should be ashamed. Even Eagle would have several times that amount of money. It was literally a place where money would roar. Provided they were proper functional. Tend to a mind, we were people who would roar. But what are you trying to do is no different. Don't you see? As a result, yeah. I just want to help our customers hedge their risks. Felt like confusion in Marco's mind was seeping through a receiver. I was just talking about the same thing, but approaching it from another angle. Thus poking weakness in human cognitive functions, and so of course he would be confused. It was said that it would be hard for even a specialist or statistics, or probabilities, or even ethics to overcome this with mere reasoning. When they say that the same product can be tremendously different when sold by different salesmen, this must be where the secrets lie. By the way, Eleanor said she'd bring 1 million more to the table. I said that in a carefree tone, and gave her a hint to help this confused brain decipher the situation. So you did ask Eleanor for advice. Well, she does work as an agent in a field of no refund insurance after all. That is, so what there is to worry about so much about. After a long silence, Marco finally said it. I'm also reporting this to research, just so you know. Of course, but do explain to her about the insurance. I got it. I heaved a sigh of relief as Marco finally knelt down in resignation. I was relieved because I had more drastic measures up my sleeve if he had refused. Well, I'll deal with legal stuff and set up a fund. Now I'll handle explaining stuff to our customers. I swear. As Marco was rumbling, I realised I forgot to tell him something very important. Oh right. On the same subject, there are a few lists I'm going to need. What are they? The investors taking huge real estate positions. Right, well, I guess I could call in a few companies to figure that out. What else? Also, a grin was appearing in recorders in my mouth. A list of problem customers. Buy me one of those. Huh? People like this Keeling Goldsmith worry what's to extreme. Wouldn't they just be perfect customers? Perhaps. Well, since there's no refund insurance, they know from the start if nothing happens, they'll end at balance zero. They don't need to give themselves a stomach over the ups and downs of market prices. We have a point, still, that's... What? Marco would not give an answer to my question. It looked like he was hesitating on the other side of the phone for a moment. Was he thinking it utterly stupid to reach out problem customers? Words Marco eventually uttered were not unexpected. That's what Dr. Wallace tried to do, right? That's right. Most certainly. That's what it was. That was the only possibility I could think of. An insurance policy would guarantee a full sum of 10 million more when the securities outright collapse. Was sold dirt cheap. At 80,000. That was the only way I could think of to turn a huge profit from a small amount of money. But the doctor made a mistake by entering the market way too soon. On top of that, he forcefully bet too much on positions that were too big. I don't know if he got mesmerised by the profits or he got struck by the madness of the real estate market the more he investigated it until he couldn't see anything else. However, I could sense which words Marco meant to say after that. If so, then it means actually intruding on what the doctor is doing, right? Yeah, it means we were fighting each other over insurance. As he answered without the slightest hesitation, Marco held his breath for a bit before speaking. Wouldn't we also have the option to invest in the doctor's fund? Joining in on the fun, as other people did with hard work and simply reaping the spoils? It was quite common in the world of investment, but dealing with someone you either knew nor care about was very different from dealing with someone you knew. Besides, by investing in the doctor who has already accumulated positions, we'll be able to avoid commissions on a purchase of insurance and save ourselves from trouble. And then, Marco hesitated as though having trouble finding the words. But it wouldn't stop there. The doctor's in a tight spot right now. This might help save him. If I went and said it, Marco would never voice his agreement. However, if the doctor was in a tight spot, it meant that Maria was also in a tight spot. Marco would probably want to be an assistance to her. Of course, myself would also like Dr. Wallace to work hard and be able to keep on investing in future. Then, however, this would mean I spoke just like one of those cold-blooded misers nesting in the world of investments. But if we invest in the doctor, our profits will be reduced. After all, investment fund takes 20% of our profits as commission. I did consider myself a shallow miser. Even so, there was one line an investor must never cross and concede. Investors could call themselves investors because they had earned the best monetary profits more efficiently. I would want to talk to a doctor. After all, I did borrow his data to check on a few things. When I put it like that, Marco didn't protest, though he did let one thing slip but he couldn't hold back. Worst comes to worst, wouldn't you get sued? Patents are not applicable to investment methods. Well, I guess that's precisely why he was so paranoid. After that, I'll need a bit of a legal advice as to how to proceed with sales promotion to our customers. You could hear Marco sigh lightly. He must have given up and switched his frame of mind. You mean Stacey, right? What do you want me to ask her? Right, if I recall correctly, this type of financial product has legal regulations on purchase, just like there are restrictions on investments towards funds. Anyway, in world investment, problems are given. So lots of high-risk products are restricted to people who had, or even were expected to have very specialised knowledge. Funds like Eagles, Wallace's and my own belong to that category. There are restrictions in place ensuring that only wealthy people could move that sort of money around and invest in that type of fund. That's why, for instance, our fund had 2 million more investment minimum. This world was reputed to be a closed world, only accepting rich people, and such restrictions were a reason for all that. However, there is a fundamental difference between receiving 30,000 more from someone doing hand-to-mouth and receiving 3 million more without excess assets. I had learned this fact 8 years ago in the field, and I really did think this legal restriction made sense. Also, I think the protection was limited to institutional investors. I think I was mentioned in the purchase agreement. I'll look into that, since, well, we're going to work as an agency. We better know how the products we sell actually work. Exactly. I'll look at that and call you back. Thanks. I hung up the phone and heaved a sigh. I managed to maintain a resolute attitude in front of Marco. The fact that Dr. Wallace and I would wage open war with each other over profits. It might actually really devolve into an ugly family quarrel between misers. But deep in my heart, I was on fire. I even felt a pang of affection for myself when I was panicking, not knowing where I was on fire. This chance I encountered after biding my time was just that valuable. My whole body felt like it was about to burn from mere anticipation, but I might not be able to stand up in an untrodden land. If it meant I could follow the call of my passion, I'd view revival as an outright enemy if I had to. I grasped my tablet lightly, greedily, put my hands to my forehead as if praying. As an investor, I was not doing anything wrong. After repeating this line to myself, I contacted Wallace. Oh, it's you. Those gruff words are the first thing out of Wallace's mouth. It looks like he's doing fine. A nice glass of wine. How you doing? I hadn't called Wallace to indulge in idle chatter. The tone of my voice probably sounded dispirited to anyone who heard it. The bleeding sound stopped. Now the sharks are smelling the blood and starting to circle. Wallace said with a guttural laugh. I am the king of pessimism. I always keep in mind the possibility that something bad will happen. I'm going to start a fund specialised in hedging that will protect against the decline of the real estate market. Oh! Wallace's exclamation was a mix between surprise and laughter. Well, I guess that's a positive way of phrasing it, so... In the business world, riding someone's coattails isn't a bad thing. On the contrary, there's nothing wrong with finding someone on a decline whose plans always seem to backfire, and conducting contrarian investments against them, like some sort of death god. So you're saying you're not one of those on the decline, Doctor? Not unless you are. But our man sure was eloquent. Feeling somewhat relieved, I spoke. I saw some of your data while I was doing some research. It's based out trying to ascertain what UFOs exist by reading accounts from believers. Are you out of your mind? I've been to New Age Development. After that, to one of their branch offices. The main office said I was the first person to ever come to inquire about their loans. Which is kind of surprising, especially since you had apparently been there a while ago. That's because they refused to receive me. Wallace replied with displeasure in his voice. I'm a god of plague, those with guilty conscience don't want to meet me, but alone achieve a god on my visit. If someone refuses to meet me, that's just a proof they probably have something to hide. Well, I can't imagine why. That place is a land of dreams. I'm not surprised that bullish people only look at what's right in front of them, wouldn't want to let you in. In my words, Wallace took a deep breath, then let it out slowly. Maybe he was annoyed when Nuisance had showed up to take a part of the profits he was planning to earn for himself. Or maybe he was relieved that he was finding someone who agreed with his opinion. It was probably both. The investor was a strange creature who racked its brain trying to find a way to reduce risks for a position where risk-taking was necessary to profit. They would be on the verge of bankruptcy at the start. What was the deciding factor? There are three factors. The first one is the ninja loans offered by the New Age Development. The second one would be the incredibly low interest yield of the rental market. Lastly, advice from someone on Earth concerning how much Earth admires the lunar surface. In other words, a real estate investment originating on Earth were completely unrelated to the actual demand. We were prepared to pay in accordance with admiration no matter how high the price. Wallace had once again let out a huge sigh. So that means you won't give up on this anymore, because you have no reason to. Yes. But then, does that mean you're on Earth at the moment? I'm at the orbital base. Ha, near thought I'd lost your touch with when I heard your fund start dangling in ABS. There are a lot of advisors where you are, unlike myself. Indeed, if Risa hadn't basically flung me to Earth, I almost certainly would have never realised what was going on. And then, if I hadn't talked directly with Eleanor, I would have never received her unbelievably irresponsible and blunt advice. However, you do have some followers, don't you? Turns out there are fewer of them than I thought. Well, that figures. That's what my convictions over all these years amount to. Are you blaming me? I couldn't help but ask it. Do I blame you? Don't ask weird questions. I verified my theory using your data, and now I'm planning to use the same strategy as you. On top of that, after witnessing your failure, I might do things in a wiser, smarter way than you. Oh, are you feeling pangs of remorse? If so, then you're not suited for short selling. He cleared his throat for a bit before talking. Ah well, selling as a foundation for someone else ain't that bad, I suppose. But why didn't you bet anything you had on this? That's something that's been bothering me. It wasn't like Dr. Wallace to become blinded by profit and made a bet where he could lose anything. On the contrary, that he made a name for himself by duping people that had. Of course, he was in no position to say that, as I had been thrilled by the possibility of betting on the collapse of ABS. I just really wanted to ask him that. Why I did that? I already said it, haven't I? Said what? But my greatest and also my last bet. Don't tell me you're planning on retiring. There was no mandatory retirement in the business world. On top of that, there was only people who were boundless greed who gathered. Once energy and perseverance had exhausted, I no longer had any regrets. By the time I finally managed to shift their attention from earning money to spending it, they usually had nothing worth buying save for their own coffin. There are tons of people like that. Only those who are past redemption could probably survive. and Dr. Wallace struck me as a sort whose last words would be position orders after his death. And yet, he was planning on retiring. However, my surprise was blown off by Wallace's words. I have cancer. It's terminal. His body becoming emaciated like a revenant. So it hadn't been caused by the pressure of investing. Well, it's true you can't take it with you. But if someone decided to burn their money as a sort of anti-inflation measure. However, there's one single thing you can take to your coffin, which is the feeling of accomplishment. That's also what's written in your autobiography, right? Wallace probably said that, while knowing full well that I had absolutely nothing to do with that so-called autobiography. I could also tell why he was cackling when he knew exactly what he was doing. However, I had sensed no falsehood in his previous words. He probably made that quip to hide his embarrassment. It's something worth betting everything over. I'm waiting some unbelievable return, something suitable for the king of pessimism. Still, that negative carry is... yeah. There's no way to know when it will be fulfilled. It's a matter of what will happen first, my death, my funds running out, or the market no longer being able to put up with this fabrication. Don't you think it's a perfect final bet for a king of pessimism? He wasn't bluffing. In this business, if you let yourself be influenced by the baseless vanity of the like, it always ends up backfiring in the form of a cost of some sort. That was because it led to statistically unfavourable bets. But when taken separately, these costs were difficult to estimate. But over the course of several years, the extent was distinctly visible. Wallace was a veteran soldier who had gone through all that. He was perfectly aware of what had been done, what the circumstances were, and what had seen. Bowing my head to a youngster was also part of that. That's quite a rare experience if I have my own version of Avalon's defeat, but that scene will be a real tearjerker. Am I the villain in this? Obviously. There's also an ending where we get to laugh together at the end of the story. If that bet is successful... Huh? His sudden increase in volume took me by surprise. Then, in a deeply annoyed tone, he said, "You don't get it at all. Profits don't deepen bonds. Shared losses are what deepens bonds. Not profits, but losses? You're particularly tenacious for someone my old age, but you still lack experience." My bad. However... Wes started, then lowered his voice and muttered, "I'm not perfect either." Hearing Wallace's admission, I asked him without thinking, "How so?" For once, he seemed to hesitate. Something seemed to prevent him from saying what he wanted. What could make someone like Dr. Wallace hesitate? As I thought, Dr. Wallace wasn't a child like me. I haven't told Maria about my cancer. What do you think? Personally, I just consider that as an application for investing. An application? The return of a tale is the unprecedented investment I would have made before collapsing. Regardless of its success or failure, as someone take risking his life for investment, I'm sure that will make Maria proud. Without a risk? At my question, Wallace once again became silent. But silence didn't last long. Maria will probably end up spending more time in a lawyer's office than visiting me at the hospital. I tried to repress a sigh, but finally failed to do so. You are an idiot, aren't you? What? I've been told the same thing just recently. I was asked if I was really that clueless about anything that wasn't investments by someone very dear to me. I'm sure you know the answer, right, Doctor? Since you have no idea what you really want, you won't be able to reach what you want as an investor, you know? Wallace was just being as stubborn by an old man staying silent. So I continued. Reese is a hardcore sister. If you want, I could ask her to help you out. While you're at it, you could also ask her to intercede with God on your behalf. There was a silence, but it didn't last long. Please do. Even if you couldn't see me, I slowly nodded before replying. Understood. Good grief. Huh? Seems that even though I now lives this long, I never did manage to grow up. It was so exaggerated that I couldn't even laugh. That's the biggest joke of the century. Huh. What would a kid who hasn't even lived a quarter of a century know about rats? His way of speaking was so fitting for a king of pessimism, I finally managed to laugh. Is it okay for me to assume I've earned your approval for my new fund? It's not like I'm your guardian or anything. You can do whatever you want, for a negative carrier is quite a difficult thing to manage. I am aware of that. Then I have nothing more to say. Let's share my pain of hemorrhaging together. However, are you really not going to invest in my own fund? As I politely refused, I sincerely did something. What's a new scene? I sincerely thought to myself that I'd end up an old man like him someday. I could see that. Wallace is a bit of a miser, but he's a good guy altogether. Oh well, while we sit in this lovely room, thank you very much for watching. Have a wonderful day. Bye bye.